Isaac Dover. Harris is leaning into what's being described as a more populist agenda. How much of what we heard was a departure from President Biden's policies?
Well, look, she's not running for Joe Biden's second term. She's running for her own first term. That said, she is doing some things that build on what Biden has been doing over the last 3.5 years. The child tax credit, for example, she wants to bring back and expand it. The number of homes being built, that's something that Biden got going. She wants to expand that into higher numbers, into millions now. So that is expanding and building on the Biden record. And then there's some stuff that she's going further on, like this idea to go after price gouging. That gets into a place where Joe Biden has always been a little uncomfortable taking on corporations, going after them in that way. Even over the last couple of years, there have been a couple moments when Biden has done a little bit of that, talked about it, but it's never been where he's comfortable. And Harris clearly feels like she is comfortable there and feels like that is the right way to talk about the pain that people are still feeling in making their dollars stretch amid what is overall a strong economy by all the measures that Joe Biden often likes to talk about himself.
It's interesting, Van Jones. A recent New York Times Siena poll showed 53% of Americans say Trump would do a better job with the economy compared to just 44% for Harris. Do you think Harris's newly unveiled policies will help her with voters?
I think so. And honestly, I think, thank goodness we're finally hearing from a Democrat aggressively on the price gouging. It's made no sense to me. For the past 4 years, Democrats have no problem dragging in technology CEOs, grilling them, going after them. You guys got to do better. But most Americans don't have a problem with technology CEOs. It's these grocery stores ripping people off. The big grocers, there's no reason in the world for food prices to be this high. All the supply chain stuff has worked itself out long ago. They are just ripping people off every day. And the Biden administration did put together a task force of the Federal Trade Commission and Department of Justice to look into it. But to your point earlier, Biden never felt comfortable talking about the fact that he was going after this price gouging. Kamala feels comfortable. And you talk about her strength. You talk about this kind of politics of joy. She's also tough. And she knows that Americans are getting ripped off. She wants to do something about it. And I say, thank goodness we finally got somebody willing to do this and talk about it as boldly as she is.
Let me get Lauren Tomlinson's reaction as well. Lauren, the Trump campaign says Harris went, and I'm quoting now, full communist with the agenda she laid out today. At the same time, J.D. Vance is accusing Harris of copying Trump's ideas. So which one is it?
I think what strikes me the most about this is that we finally have a very easy comparison of Republican and Democratic policies and approach to the economy. You have free market principles where we want to increase supply, lower the cost of businesses doing business so they can lower prices and pass that on to the consumers, versus government insertion and artificial stimulation into the economy, which is where we are now, where we've flooded the market with all of these artificial stimulus. Harris's plan sounds great, but it's kind of like crack. It's going to feel good for a little bit, but it's still going to result in high inflation in all of these issues that we have right now with the economy. And so, I lean towards, Trump's communist leanings on his framing. But like a lot of these populist ideas, they end up in a big circle where far left and far right end up meeting in the middle. So it's a little bit of both.
But I see it differently in that both
Isaac,
of them.
Go ahead.
I was going to say both of them want tax cuts.
Go
It's
ahead,
just
Ben.
that Trump wants tax cuts for the billionaires and Kamala wants tax cuts for working folks. But that's a very different economic agenda.
Isaac, you're reporting that Harris is ramping up debate preparations right now as Trump is bringing one of Harris's former Democratic primary rivals, Tulsi Gabbard, into the mix for his prep. How much of a contrast is there between how these two candidates are preparing for their debate?
Well, Harris has been preparing for her debate actually since before the Biden-Trump debate, and obviously before then, she knew that she would be having a presidential debate. This has been getting her ramped up, prepared to what was supposed to be a sort of new look in the eyes of American voters as the running mate, now with much higher stakes on her. And as she's been developing things like these economic plans that she rolled out today. And as she was going through the running mate vetting process to get Tim Walz to be her choice, she has also continued to meet with advisors. And now they've moved into the sort of mock debate phase of this, where they've got Philippe Brains, who is a Hillary Clinton aide, who played Donald Trump in the mock debates in 2016, now back in action doing that, and really starting to run through what this would look like, all leading up to that September 10th debate that we know we're going to have over on ABC. On the Trump side, it's always a little bit with him a question of how much he's preparing. They like to say he doesn't prepare, but he does prepare, and he does do some it's not as much of the traditional way of going about it, but now he's got Tulsi Gabbard in there, the former Democratic congresswoman from Hawaii. Should say, even though she is a former Democrat, she has been moving further and further to the Trump wing of politics over the last couple of years and gotten tight with him. She, if you remember 5 years ago in that CNN debate in Detroit in July of 2019, she went after Harris very effectively, going on her attorney general record in a way that rattled Harris. And I remember that night, Harris advisors telling me that they were shocked by how much Gabbard managed to get under Harris's skin. A lot has happened since then, and Gabbard won't be on the stage herself, and the dynamics will be totally different, obviously. But Trump drawing Gabbard in and going for trying to go for that same kind of response seems like a key way that he's hoping to affect the dynamics himself as this goes forward.